You know what's really pathetically sad? That I have to explain to the conservative side after we made it through Rovid, after we made it through being accused of trying to overthrow the government on January the 6th, after we suffered being deplatformed, being muzzled during Rovid on our social media platforms that we were spreading disinformation about, love potion number 9 and wearing a mask 24/7, etc., 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 being deplatformed, being doxxed and outed of our addresses so that lunatics could, come at will to where we were. After all of that, we now have to explain to conservatives that the whole concept of muzzling and censorship and deplatforming, you shouldn't be looking at other people on our side of the aisle as to who you can do it to now? Really? Really? And then this pimpin', grifting buffoon.
And one of the reasons that I have this fervor and this excitement is because I actually read my Bible.
Oh, we're going to find out if you do. I promise you that. We're going to find out. Hey, I'm Pastor Marty, and this is the Afternoon Drive. Please make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, and once you are, smack the bell, click the word all. That'll give you notification of my rants, my ravings, my undeniably flawless reasonings. Please like and share this video. That's the only way that we get the word out that we're here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being a part of the Afternoon Drive.
Warning: psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
There are people on the right that are losing their minds that Tucker Carlson had a conversation with Nick Fuentes, the self-described white supremacist. Personally, I had never listened to the guy before. There was just so much explosion online over the fact that Tucker interviewed him. I watched the interview, and I can say after watching it, I'm not a Nick Fuentes guy. First of all, Fuentes, white supremacy, I'm trying to figure out in my mind how that works, but I don't have enough time to delve into his life and find out what all of his ethnic background is. And you know what? I don't care, because I really don't care about Nick Fuentes. Can we grow up for a minute? Having a conversation with someone is not an endorsement. Having a conversation with someone is not telling everybody, hey, we affirm him, and you go on his platform and you affirm him too. It's just what it is. It's having a conversation. Because right now, the right sounds like the left did a few months ago when Tucker Carlson went to Russia and he sat down with Putin. And they were complaining, he let Putin talk too long. He let Putin say this and he let Putin say that. But see, the MAGA right didn't want to fund the war in Ukraine anymore and didn't want to be in a proxy war with Russia. So everybody applauded Tucker Carlson. But now, the very same way that Tucker interviews everybody, the very same way he interviews everybody, he interviewed Nick Fuentes, and there are people who are losing their collective minds over it. And we're going to get into the who and the why. Officer Tatum, the guy that I refer to as the pimp grifter, he's apparently now wants to be the conservative version of Al Sharpton, because now he's doing this total shakedown of Turning Point USA and every other coalition that grants him an audience to speak about why they need to, not in any way have anything to do with Tucker Carlson, or he's going to keep talking about him on his... It's a blackmail thing. It really is. And by the way, I watched his speech at the American Jewish Coalition. Not good. He's not a good speaker. In fact, I'll say more about that in a little while. But anyway, he had this to say as to why, as a Christian, he is so absolutely unapologetically for Israel and why he has to be against a Nick Fuentes.
But I'm excited because I think it's a calling on all of us to stand up with the relationship that we have with the state of Israel and our Jewish brothers and sisters. I am the most excitable person when it comes to this topic. And I will stand with my Jewish brothers and sisters to the very end. And one of the reasons that I have this fervor and this excitement is because I actually read my Bible. I know what God has said. I know what the principles of God mean to people like me as a Christian.
Really? I noticed you didn't actually quote any scripture there, Mr. Tatum. I noticed you didn't actually share with anyone the scriptural reference as to why you feel that you have to say that this is where all Christians are from. But I'll tell you what, I'll help you out. Because I too stand with Israel. Scriptural Israel. Genesis chapter 12. This is where God makes his covenant with Abram before he changed his name to Abraham. And he told Abram, out of your seed, I'm going to birth a people, my people. And I will bless them that bless thee, and I will curse them that curse thee. As a Christian, I understand that Jesus Christ came through the Jewish bloodline. That Jesus Christ came to seek and to save his people. But the Bible says he came unto his own, and his own received him not. Therefore, the gospel became made available to the Gentiles. That's me, you. That would even be a guy like Officer Tatum. But that doesn't mean that God was done with Israel. Not by a long shot. In fact, Galatians teaches us that because it was counted unto Abram, who became Abraham, of faith, that we share in the blessing of Abraham and Israel. In fact, the Bible declares that we who are saved and born again and part of Christ's church have been grafted in. Now again, you don't have to be a horticulturalist to understand that when a branch gets grafted into a tree, the branch does not become the tree, but it becomes part of the tree. Why? Because God's not done with the tree, which is Israel. Now, I know some of you don't care about this, but let me help some of you Christians that are struggling with this right now on the conservative side of the aisle. You can disagree with political Israel and not be in violation of Genesis chapter 12. You can call out things that you see in secular Israel, whether it be atrocities that they committed in Gaza that our side of the aisle doesn't like to talk about, though we, in whispering conversations, like, I can't believe the things we did over there. You think? No, you're not an anti-Semite because you point out the obvious. You're not anti-Jewish, you're not spitting on God, spitting on God's people, because that's who the blessing is for. He said, I will bless them that bless thee. In other words, I will bless anyone, but we'll narrow this down to American conservative Christians. If they will bless my people, I will bless them. My people. He didn't say the governments they enact. God had a lot of problems with the different governments that Israel had through the years, to the fact that many times he allowed them, because of their wicked kings, to be conquered, to be enslaved. 400 years in Egypt, 75 years in Babylon. Now again, I will defend Israel as a nation to exist. I think it makes at times good sense for us to be politically aligned with them. After all, when it comes to that hotbed area of chaos and terrorism, the Middle East, for the most part, we have to at least agree on the fact that Israel is at least somewhat sane. Some of the other nations over there are being led by barbarians who still think it's the 3rd century in the way they handle issues. So I do understand that, but this idea that we have to sell out and sell our soul, and it's all about that, whoa, hold on. That's not scriptural. Because again, the whole reason there is going to be a tribulation period, it's to give Israel one last chance to receive her Messiah, Jesus Christ. And about 3.5 years into the tribulation period, which is going to be a 7-year tribulation period, about 3.5 years in, they're going to wake up and realize they made a deal with the devil himself, that Israel made a deal with the Antichrist. And the blinders will fall off, according to Matthew 24, and they will en masse begin to convert. So, Mr. Tatum, you talk about, I've read my Bible, we got to be constantly aligned with Israel on everything they do. No. The Bible doesn't teach that, because we know that according to the Bible, Israel is going to make a peace accord with the Antichrist. Would you have us join with that too? I'd love to come on your show, Mr. Tatum, but you won't platform me because you disagree with me and you don't know how to debate. And I'd like to go Bible verse for Bible verse with you, since you read your Bible and you know what it says. Whatever form of English it is that you speak.
Christians can critique the state of Israel without being anti-Semitic. And of course, anti-Semitism should be condemned. My loyalty as a Christian and as an American is to Christ first and to America always. When it serves the interests of the United States to cooperate with Israel and other allies, we should do so, with partnerships on security, intelligence, and technology. But when it doesn't, conservatives should feel no obligation to reflexively support any foreign government, no matter how loud the pressure becomes from the globalist class or from their mouthpieces in Washington.
Well, that's the president of the Heritage Foundation, and ooh boy, has he got certain people like Ben Shapiro, the little snivel twit, and Mark Levin, you stupid idiot. Why is it that the two guys with the most obnoxious sounding, wimpy, effeminate voices set on maximum volume, why do they hold so much sway and influence within the conservatism? I've never understood that. I've been in broadcasting my whole life, and I can flat out tell you that Mark Levin on the radio is like fingernails on a chalkboard as far as voice and sound quality. I mean, back in the day, even with ultra-conservatives owning and running radio stations and media outlets, they would have never put a guy like Mark Levin on, because his voice is just so irritating, you would lose audience immediately. People would start turning the dial, changing the channel. But anyway, we digress. He's now, the president of Heritage USA, is in hot water for stating the obvious, and that's sad. But of course, the pimpin', griftin' Officer Tatum had more to say.
And let me say this. I will never capitulate. I will never give credence to foolish people who are anti-Semitic, who are racist, people who hate America. I will never support them. I don't care how long you've been podcasting. I don't care how many followers you got. I don't care how much money you got. When you platform somebody, bring somebody on your show and let them just dog out Jewish people, let them just dog out and say they support Stalin, I will never support you.
You will never capitulate. You will never have somebody like a Nick Fuentes on, because the truth is, a 5-year-old could out-debate you. Again, listen to how you speak and understanding that you really aren't all that well educated. And I'll get to that in a few minutes, because I've pointed that out numerous times. And now it's glaringly apparent that you're not only politically stupid, but you're biblically ignorant. But see, you wouldn't have a Nick on because you couldn't actually debate him. He would make you, your favorite word is silly. well, he would make you look silly. And the truth is, you ought to be able to beat him because there are things Nick Fuentes is flat out wrong on. You know who's not scared of him? The Hodge twins. You know, they're conservative. Do you know that they're even people of color, Officer Tatum? And they're not offended in the least by Nick Fuentes.
But as always, and this is how it is in America now, two Americans will get together and have a conversation about our country. An American audience will love it. But then there's always this other group that says, hang on, time out. Is there somebody you forgot to ask? Me and Tucker, I consent. I want this conversation to happen. The audience, I consent. I want this conversation to happen. I want to watch this.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
And then you have Mark Levin, Sean McGuire, Josh Hammer, Ben Shapiro, Bill Ackman, Laura Loomer. Is there somebody you forgot to ask? It's terrible. It's horrible. It's horrible.
We know exactly what that means. Yeah. All the criticism I've seen is pretty much from the right that this interview happened, which is shocking to me because we're the freedom of speech advocates and proponents.
Right.
But I see majority of the criticism coming from the right.
All the criticism is coming from the right.
Which is odd. Yeah, like who on the left can the right not debate?
Right.
Is there anybody on the left that we cannot debate? A bunch of communists, a bunch of socialists, who are a bunch of anti-American people. We're allowed to talk to them and debate them and platform them, but you can't debate. But you can't provide a platform for Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson, the guy who stood up on mainstream media and stood up for January 6ers.
Yeah.
And investigated on their behalf. How many people did he get released from prison after he released those videos?
Yeah.
That Tucker Carlson.
Yeah. And then taking into consideration, who is attacking Tucker Carlson?
Who's attacking Nick Fuentes? Who are they affiliated with? I mean, it's quite obvious. Anybody who criticizes Israel, they're going to label them as Jew haters. No, the reason why I'm against Israel right now is their military tactics they're being used. It's considered war crimes.
Yeah.
I don't hate people of the Jewish faith. They hate me. That's why they label us anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
I see somebody with a sign that said Tucker is not MAGA. I guess I got to put his name out there. That's not MAGA.
Tucker's not MAGA. That was a big thing at this rally, which had about 1,000 people, but only like 100 people had the sign, Tucker's not MAGA. And some Florida congressperson was down there and talking about Tucker Carlson, biggest anti-Semite in the media today, and only 100 people clapped out of 1,000. But let me tell you, Officer Tatum isn't MAGA either. And I pointed this out for the last 3 years that he is nothing but a pimp and grifter. 1 minute he's for Trump, then he was for Vivek Ramaswamy, then he was all in on Ron DeSantis and wanted Donald Trump to shut up and go away.
And especially Donald Trump. Donald Trump, just figure out what you got going on legally and quit interjecting yourself in this stuff. I saw Donald Trump post that this is a pointless debate. No, it is not. Donald Trump can tell how great the unemployment is under his administration. They don't give a about nothing he say. They turned off. They hate his guts. They hope he dies and go to prison for the rest of his life. Nobody's listening to him. Joe Biden is dead. He's literally a dead man walking. He's circling the drain. So a lot of people will never listen to him. He's old. He's dumb. He's losing it. Nobody will ever listen to Joe Biden. So you two old dudes can talk as much as you want, and many people will tune you out. But Ron DeSantis And Gavin Newsom, to be honest, they are the future of Republican and liberal politics.
And how do I know that he wants to talk about character and doing the right thing and standing up for the right thing, and you got to do something. How do I know he's a lying, pimp, and grifter? It's not just from the fake energy vitamin crap that he's selling like a modern day snake oil salesman. Look at the picture of him again as he's pointing out why Trump, just go deal with your legal business. People are done with you. Nobody's going to vote for you. And I can't be associating with a guy that isn't popular anymore. You don't stand a chance. So I'm now all for Ron DeSantis while I sell these Donald Trump t-shirts. You know why he didn't sell Ron DeSantis t-shirts? Because nobody would buy them. You know why he didn't sell Vivek Ramaswamy t-shirts? Nobody would buy them. He's a pimpin' grifter. That's all he is.
We will always defend truth. We will always defend America, and we will always defend our friends against the slander of bad actors who serve someone else's agenda. That includes Tucker Carlson, who remains, and as I have said before, always will be a close friend of the Heritage Foundation. The venomous coalition attacking him are sowing division. Their attempt to cancel him will fail. Most importantly, the American people expect us to be focusing on our political adversaries on the left, not attacking our friends on the right. I disagree with, and even abhor, things that Nick Fuentes says. But canceling him is not the answer either. When we disagree with a person's thoughts and opinions, we challenge those ideas in debate. And we have seen success in this approach as we continue to dismantle the vile ideas of the left. As my friend Vice President Vance said last night, what I am not okay with is any country coming before the interest of American citizens, and it is important for all of us, assuming we are American citizens, to put the interest of our own country first. That's where our allegiance lies, and that's where it will stay.
Can we now go back to being adults and saying that not everything that everybody that I'm in association with do I agree with? It's okay. I don't agree with everything that Tucker Carlson may believe, but I find his programs interesting to watch and to listen to. Same thing with Joe Rogan. I certainly know I don't agree with Joe Rogan on everything. I certainly don't believe in, hey, let's let the whole world just smoke pot, and I ain't there. It's conversation. And while we're doing this, the Democrats, which right now need to be completely dismantled and annihilated as they're about to put a communist into the mayor's seat in New York City, that's what we ought to be focused on. But instead, may I point out what I think it is that they're really upset about within political Israel about Tucker Carlson? It didn't have a Nick Fuentes on. Have you seen Tucker Carlson's 9/11 series? What happened on September the 11th? You can watch it here on YouTube. He wants to know what was Israel's involvement in making that happen, to draw us in to a war of knocking off countries and leaders they didn't like, that they knew we would never just replace them. So what part did they play in pulling strings behind the scenes? Tucker's asking those questions. You think that's maybe why Ben Shapiro and the others are running cover? Which again, Ben Shapiro was not MAGA. He hated Donald Trump during his first term. He was a never Trumper. Now all of a sudden, Ben Shapiro is this voice in MAGA we're supposed to be listening to? Give me a break. Give me a break. Wake up. Think. When I did this show in radio format for years, long before it ever became a podcast, I used to say this is radio for thinking people. What I say may make you mad, and I don't care, as long as I make you think. Think about the real reason why all of a sudden all these people who a year or two ago loved Tucker were so glad that he was on the campaign trail with and for Donald Trump, and even did a great series on, Trump's comeback called The Surge. Tucker Carlson, who lost his job at Faux Pas News, formerly known as Fox News, over exposing the truth of what was going on with January 6th. What has Officer Tatum ever done besides do asinine commentary where it's obviously he's uneducated, spouting an opinion so he can sell his vitamin goop mix and his really ugly t-shirts? But because he made certain alliances to promote something first other than America, now he's in. Now he's in. Now he's part of it. It's okay. Well, Tatum, congratulations. You're now the fake conservative Al Sharpton.